Welcome in to another edition of the Believe in Mavs podcast. I'm your host, Wyatt Huskins, alongside Alex Tassopoulos. And Alex, the last game against the Indiana Pacers, it was, I would say, a game of duality, two-face, as Batman would call him. And you have to take the good with the bad. And the good, obviously, Maxi Kleber came back, looked like the old Maxi Kleber. Just what we needed him to be, although we did not get the win. Luka had a great game, great birthday game, all around great performance, had good defense, a little bit too much complaining, a little bit too much talking, I think, especially to the refs from Rick Carlisle. Kyrie didn't have the best game of his life. Offense at times looks amazing. Defense at times looks absolutely terrible. Alex, what did you see from this last game? What stood out to you? Take it away.
Well, first off, we're recording this, this game happened 2 nights ago, but we needed a full day just to
recovery day
get over this. Yeah, to get over this loss, kind of reassess, reevaluate. I think, Mavs fans, Mavs Twitter, up in arms really after this loss. On the heels of the loss to the Lakers as well, where we collapsed and blew that massive lead that we had. We knew this was a high stakes game for Kidd, at least in the eyes of the fans, right? Because we're playing our former head coach who was with us for,
was it 12? I think it's 12
years. I think, yeah, and a guy that's revered by Mavs fans. Although at the end, I think, it was a mutual parting of ways, and that was very apparent with the way that Luka interacted with him. Luka always talks about how he only talks shit when people talk shit to him, right? He only talks back.
Yep. He did in this game.
I felt like he instigated a little bit this game.
Yeah, I think so.
He is a year older now. He's 24. But I felt like it was a step back maturity-wise for him.
Yeah.
But that can happen. When personal ties, those bring up more emotions, more feelings. I never get upset that he's playing with that emotionality, but I do think, as we've talked about before, like it can be a little bit of a distraction. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself with these 2 losses in a row. Now we're 1-2 post All-Star break. It's not like we've had a ton of games in a short amount of time. Like, there has been a lot of time to let the dust settle after these games happen. And I think that's what's happening now is, like, we're getting really microscopic with how we break down this team.
Yep.
And how we criticize this team. And rightly so. I mean, we're out of the playoffs now,
yep.
Right? We're in the play-in. We're the number 7 seed. We play a Philly team tonight where Embiid is likely going to play after he just got – a night of rest. So I kind of danced around your original question of, the takeaways from the game, but I still, I'm unsatisfied. I'm a little unsettled,
yep.
But I'm not devoid of hope. Like, I think that we have a chance here, and we have a couple of tough games before we get into kind of our really easy stretch to end the season. But we got to put together some wins. We got to put together some momentum. And I don't know, like I watched the highlights again. I rewatched like some of the moments that I wanted to dig back into. And then I looked at the post-game answers that Kidd, Luka, and Kyrie gave. They said all the right things this time. This wasn't like post-Lakers game where, Jason Kidd said some things that I thought were very, easily I was criticizing because I couldn't believe the rotations, and I was scratching my head a little bit at the rotations in this Pacers game, but at least I was like, okay, Tim was hot. He kept him in. Tim ended up playing 37 minutes. I liked that. Don't let the Mavericks get an offensive rebound because Tim will shoot the next shot and he will make it.
He will drain it.
That's what's happening right now. My biggest takeaway still, though, I'm fixated right now on Josh Green and him having to be on the court in the last 5 minutes of the game. And in watching and rewatching the highlights, he had 2 crucial offensive rebounds in the game where it resulted in a second opportunity. And just like I said, and then Tim hits a three. And like, he just gives us a chance to do things, to get more opportunities, to push the pace that other guys on our team can't do. And Reggie hit some clutch threes in this game. He really did. But our shot quality, we've always talked about this, even prior to Kyrie being on the team, because of Luka. Like, the shot quality for everyone else is so great, and guys just have to hit shots.
Mm-hmm.
And whether it's Kyrie or not, like, guys have to hit shots. I felt like the same thing happened in the Lakers game. Like, the game got away from us, but it's not like our shots, they weren't open and we were like chucking stuff up at the end of the shot clock, the last 6 minutes of the game. It was like quality looks that just weren't falling.
Yep. I mean, in the first half, I think we maybe made like 5 threes as a team. It was really the first half was really poor shooting. I think when you look at, we like to look at what, like you said, we like to look at the micro stuff. In this game, in a 2-point game, there's a lot of opportunities to look at the small things that could have gotten us the victory. If you want to blame the referees, you can. They missed 2 calls in the last 2 minutes. On the last 2-minute report, there was a travel and what should have been an offensive foul, I believe, on Buddy Hield, on Maxi Kleber.
Yeah.
Once again, micro level. Christian Wood at the beginning of the fourth quarter, after having what should have been another moving screen to start the fourth, and he gave up 6 points on 3 straight possessions by the Pacers, or essentially because of the 2 turnovers on our end and then a lazy rotation on defense. That's a micro level that you can look at. It could be micro, could be macro of Justin Holiday starting. Like, I really enjoy the move. Like, I like the move to get him for depth, but to start him over Josh Green, I really don't understand that. I don't necessarily like to criticize Coach Kidd, I think, as much as Twitter would, because I do believe, hey, this guy does know a lot more about basketball than I do. Believe it or not, I'm not the expert here. This guy, he should know what he's doing. But that decision to continue to do that, it makes me roll my eyes a little bit, I got to be honest. Josh Green, I get it. He had 2 tough games before the All-Star break, but the kid didn't come in thinking he was going to start basketball games. If you're not really conditioned, and of course, you expect, oh man, these guys are all professional athletes, they should be conditioned. Hey, if he's not really expecting to start a game, he is conditioning himself in the preseason, in the offseason, to come in and give those huge bursts of energy off the bench. If that's what he's prepared to do in the offseason and then is thrust into a role where he's starting and he's playing 30 plus minutes a game for several weeks in a row, there's a good chance he's going to tucker out right before the All-Star break. This is the same thing that happened to Seawood when he had his injury, and which is why I believe he's playing poorly right now. And it's all mental for Seawood. For Josh Green, I believe he just got tired. He just got tired before the All-Star break. And to not see him starting, it's just really unfortunate. And you're going to have a guy who can push the pace against a 76ers team so that you can't get that Joel Embiid anchor defense set. Because if and I'm sure you noticed, Alex, Miles Turner took away Kyrie Irving for the most part, and then everybody not named Luka Doncic, in my opinion. He was amazing down low. And with Joel Embiid, you have kind of the same guy, except way better. Just maybe not on defense, but in everything else. And so you have to be able to get out and run in transition and be able to push the pace against the 76ers team with James Harden and Joel Embiid.
Yeah, I mean, our bigs are really going to get tested. Maxi he really had a good game back.
Yes.
He had an explosive move, which was great to see, where he I can't remember who he took off the dribble, but drove middle of the paint and threw it down. Really, really athletic move. That was great to see from him. But, I expect we'll see a little bit of JaVale in this game. I expect we'll see a lot of Maxi, a lot of Dwight, less Christian Wood.
Yes.
And it's because of what you just talked about at the beginning of the fourth quarter, 3 possessions in a row where he makes a mistake on offense and he can't put together good possessions on defense. That's where that trust falls away. I'm less concerned about our starting lineup and Josh Green being there. At this point of the season, like we have 18 games left. We are in every game.
Yep.
If you look at us from like a against the spread, statistically, like we're terrible,
ATS.
right? We're really bad. We lose a lot of close games. We don't get blown out a lot. We don't blow other teams out. So we are in it. So to me, even more so than other teams around the NBA, clutch time rotations really, really matter for us. The fourth quarter really, really matters for us. And it's been our Achilles heel, I think, the entire season. I think we're 0-7 on shots at the end of the game. Like we're 0-7 in games where we have an opportunity to win the game or tie the game on the last possession.
Oh, that makes me feel good.
Yeah. So, everybody's coming up with like, oh, here's my coach's whiteboard and here's the play I would have drawn up. But I think so much of that also has to do with the last like 3 to 5 minutes, just clutch time.
100%.
And so I'm more concerned with, okay, who's on the court at the very end of the game?
Yeah.
And I know, and this not accounting for like in the last 50 seconds, switches for defense to offense, that kind of stuff. Like you do that when the game slows down, when it's free throws against free throws or free throws against threes when you're trying to come back, whatever the situation is. I thought we were not only Olay defenders and like letting guys get into the paint.
Yep.
Some of that's just that Pacers team is solid. Like they're not a joke. They're kind of akin to the Thunder in the Western Conference, where they're a fringe playing team. They're kind of bouncing in and out of that contention, but they have some savvy players, and Tyrese Halliburton
is the man.
And at a point, I said he was an all-star starter on the.
He's the man.
East. He's really, really good. He's a tremendous player. I mean, he diced us. Like he took us in every different direction. He yo-yoed our defenders, but we also were very undisciplined.
Yep.
And that's what you saw from a foul shooting perspective. They got to the line way too much on us.
Yep.
And you just can't give easy opportunities to a young team like this. Like you'd rather put the pressure on them to hit really tough shots.
Mm-hmm.
And credit to them, like they had a lot of timely threes in this game.
Yep.
And guys that stepped up. But moving ahead, new opportunity, and ultimately it's what do we, how deep can we dig, right? Because we're 32 and 31 right now, and like I said, like we're the 7th seed. We have 6 good teams ahead of us. Somehow the Warriors have ended up in the 5th seed spot, and Steph's not even playing. Klay Thompson has been absolutely lights out the last 2 months. He's looked like prime Klay. I think his statistically his splits are as good as they've ever been in his career. So we have no time to dawdle about.
Dilly-dally. Can't be dilly-dallying. It's what's really unfortunate is I think you and me, we were both super positive about the Kyrie trade. I'm still super positive about the Kyrie trade, as I'm sure you are. And I think the whole fan base was. And I don't think anybody really thought about it. And maybe people did, and it was the haters, and we were like, screw the haters, whatever. But it's going to take some time for this team to adjust. There was with Doe leaving, you had such a leader on the floor that you're missing. And Maxi being back helps that a lot with defense. He is not only doing his thing physically, but he's using his voice. He's calling guys out. Seeing where guys are supposed to be on the floor. He is the vocal leader of the defense at this point. That's what he's gonna have to step up into that point. And Maxi, confident Maxi, I'm happy with that. When he starts missing shots and gets a little bit less confident, it sometimes affects his defense as well. And that's just, I won't be looking forward to that if it does happen. But, with a guy like Kyrie on the team, hopefully that takes the pressure off.
Yeah. So I look at, again, I echo your sentiment about where we are you and I with Kyrie joining the team, I don't feel any differently about it.
Nope.
But that doesn't mean that we still don't have the same problem that we had when we didn't have Kyrie, when we had Spencer and Dorian Finney-Smith, because I still feel like I wish we had made one or two more moves.
Yep.
It's great that Maxi is back, and I think not that it's not a pipe dream that like it takes all the pressure off Maxi, but I actually think like Maxi is going to have to step up in a way that he hasn't before in his career if we really, really want to make some sort of run.
Yeah.
I mean, like, his season splits are like 6.5 points and like 4 rebounds.
Yeah.
Like we talk about this guy like it's the end all be all that he's back, and defensively, like, he's our best defensive big.
Yes.
So it's really crucial in that regard. But it's going to need to be an impact all across the stat sheet and all across the game, where he's playing night in, night out with some level of consistency on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
Because if you have, in that closing five, if it's Maxi, if it's Justin Holiday and Reggie Bullock in there, or throw swap one of those guys out for Tim if he's hot.
Yep.
And then it's Luka and Kyrie, like that puts a lot of pressure on Maxi and Justin Holiday and Reggie Bullock.
Yeah.
It just does. Like I'd still love for us to go nab Nerlens Noel. He's still out there. Like we could go sign him. I'm anything, like whatever we can do to add any type of depth to this, like it. And I'm saying like we'll probably see more JaVale, but we might not. Like I wouldn't necessarily be. I expect us to play JaVale just because we're gonna have to deal with Embiid. But like, there's also a chance that he might not play at all. And in which case, like, okay, then why aren't we signing Nerlens Noel? And at that point, like, cutting whoever we need to.
Are you willing to cut JaVale McGree with 2 years left on his deal?
No, I mean, just contractually, I don't think we can cut him. But I think, I like McKinley, but I just like he's so small. Like what?
Yeah.
Like what are we? Between him and AJ Lawson, I tend to want to keep him, I guess. But now I'm grasping at straws.
Yeah.
Like none of this really matters. Like those guys probably need to get replaced in the off season.
Well, you have a big hole. We have a big hole in Frank Ntilikina on the roster who needs to get replaced.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not devoid of hope, but I want to be realistic about this.
Yeah.
And right now, I feel like we seem primed for a potentially upsetting like first round exit.
I going back to the tone I was setting at the top, I think we have an equal chance of rallying around one of these losses, or maybe a loss that comes in the next week, and really figuring it out. And guys, hey, let's get our rotations right. Like let's rotate better. That's the biggest thing on defense for us, is to rotate better. Like especially when Maxi has ramped up and has gotten to the point where he can play the full minutes that he needs to be playing, and you have that line on the backside of, okay, yeah, you have that shot blocker back there. If we just key on our defensive rotations, hey, don't give up mentally when it comes to either side of the floor. Those are the two biggest things for us, I think, at this juncture. I think we have the talent and the personnel to make a Western Conference Finals run. And I think we have an equal shot of shitting the bed, and I think we have an equal shot of figuring it out. And that's the positive in me. I mean, and that's where we're at, because we only have, like you said, 18 games left in the season. It's do or die time. Like we have to do it. I think that if Nico,
it's 19. It's 19.
19.
Yeah.
If Nico and Mark aren't looking at J Kidd maybe a little differently, if by the end of the season, if things go poorly, then I don't know. It's there's something wrong.
I still think he's safe.
Yeah.
Like people obviously, it's not like no one's saying this, but like you can't undervalue who this guy was as an NBA player, like you said, like an NBA mind, and revered by the Dallas Mavericks franchise, by Cuban. I know a little bit less about how Nico feels about him, but I do know that they came into this with a solid relationship.
Yep. They came in with the collaboration mindset.
Right. Us and the Clippers are sliding right now, and every other team from 1 to 5 is winning games.
Yeah.
And KD just came back for the Suns. I mean, it's now it comes down to like who do you have to chase here?
Yeah.
Like you have to go on some sort of run because 7 through 10, like I get it. If we're the 7 seed, okay, then we'd play the Grizzlies, and I know like how Mavs fans feel about
We could take
matchup
them
with them. Yeah, but like we think we're fine if we're playing the Grizzlies, but okay.
No, we wouldn't
that
be
team is
fine. It's not like we're jobbing around. Oh yeah, I'm fine in the West.
Right. But we like to believe that we kind of have their number, and we've won some close games against them. But they also have a really good head coach, a really good young head coach.
A lot of depth.
They have potentially the DPOY on their team, guy that was an all-star. They have Desmond Bane as well. They have Dylan Brooks, who, as much as people dislike him, like he's a gritty guy and he's something you have to deal with, and a guy that can guard Luka for 40 minutes. Will it be effectively guarding Luka? Like maybe, who knows? He's a guy that you can throw at him and kind of be a nuisance.
Yep.
Can he get into Luka's head and kind of spin his emotions out of whack? I probably. Like
at least a little bit.
Extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which we've seen also can turn Luka into like a different guy from a positive standpoint as well, right? Like
it's a dangerous game to play.
Right. But I just I mean, I don't feel great about that is kind of my point. And I'd feel a little I would feel better about playing a Kings team that hasn't been in the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely.
9 seasons, and I know they've played us well this season, but there's a lack of experience there, and I think that's way more easily exploitable than playing any of the remaining, top 6, top 5 teams in the West. And I certainly wouldn't want to have to be in a situation where we could have one mental lapse of a game, and now we're playing the 9 or 10 seed who just won, and one of those teams could be the Lakers.
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, if LeBron comes back and Anthony Davis is playing, Rob Pelinka did what he needed to do to build out the depth on that team. They're scary. Jared Vanderbilt, I said earlier, like he might be the best defender on Luka in the NBA. It's probably Wiggins, but Vando was excellent. And not only was he excellent defensively on Luka, but he also was a terror for us on the defensive glass, on the offensive glass. And I just don't think whether Maxi's back, whether it's Nerlens Noel that we pick up, or JaVale or Dwight or Christian, like we can't handle them from a rebounding standpoint.
I mean, we
just can't
handle most teams on a rebounding standpoint, unfortunately. That's if we could just rebound just a little bit better. Are the differences in some of these games would be drastic. Like it would be if you just, I mean, hell, a lot of the time it's just putting 2 hands on the ball. Like you guys have to rebound with both hands. It's just, to me, when it boils it all down to the most basic stuff, it is mostly a mental game for this team. And I mean, Jake had said it. This team has to mature from everybody. It's from the top down. Luka has to mature all the way down to Josh Green and Justin Holiday and Reggie Bullock and Max. Everybody's got to step up mentally and mature. And when I was thinking about, once we traded for Kyrie, I was thinking, okay, what's our best lineup? Probably when fully healthy and everybody's mentally engaged, it is Luka, Kai, Green, Seawood, and Maxi. In my eyes, I think that's a great playoff lineup, especially for when we have a couple guys in the backcourt who can unfortunately allow guys past them, and then you have 2 shot blockers down low who can effectively account for those mistakes. And when you don't have guys engaging in games, it's just it makes it, you're really limiting yourself. And You just have to go full. Like it's do or die. It is do or die. If these guys can't figure that out in the next couple games, then we may not even have much to talk about come May. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think that as much as I'd love us, like, if we do get to the playoffs, which I believe we still will.
Yeah, I do too.
Like, for us to not know take away the final score, and all we would have to do is look at the box score and see how many threes we hit, and then be able to determine if we won or if we lost.
Yeah.
Like, I would love for that not to always be the case.
Yep. It would be nice.
And I think so much of that has to do with playing like, you know, like the Miami Heat do. Like the Bucks do, I would say, like the Warriors typically do, which is like limit your turnovers, limit their offensive rebounds and extra possessions, which goes into the turnover bucket as well, right? Hit your free throws.
Good luck.
Like, do all of the little things.
Yep.
Like, and I think that's where it's, yes, guys have to mature, but I'd love to see like some more empowerment too. Like, not only from the players. This is what I talked about with Raymond, is like someone in that locker room has to step up as a leader.
Yeah.
Right. But I also think it can be helpful for a coach to be vocal in that aspect as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take some of that accountability for himself too, especially a guy who played at a really high level, played for this franchise and won us a championship.
Yeah.
Like, and to, he's obviously like trends more on the like player coach like side, where he's the player's coach. Not only was he a player coach, but he is the player's coach, right? He champions his guys. He doesn't really criticize them heavily, like in game, as opposed to Rick, who could be pretty heavy-handed on players, like in game. It's very obvious. You can see it on the court, which is interesting because I feel like he's pared that back a little bit. He's got this young team, and he kind of like lets them do their own thing a little bit, which
would have been nice.
It's an oddity to see. Even just the fact that like, you know, like Neesmith and Nembhard are out there, and it's like Josh Green could never touch the court when Rick was out.
Oh, I think about that too. I thought about that too.
But I don't know. I just like, we have to do the little things.
Yep.
And I still think it all comes down to Luka leading in that aspect.
Oh, if he
because too many times, like you said, like he ends up on the floor and then they get a 5-on-4, and it's like, you're still talking to the refs and like you're letting your teammates down, but more importantly, like you're giving the offense an easy offensive possession where they're man up and like realistically they're going to get a good opportunity. And it's not like if we get a quick steal or a quick defensive rebound, you're waiting at half court ready to catch an outlet pass and like put some real pressure on the defense. But things have looked better in regards to, in my opinion, just having Kyrie out there, the offensive flow, like the offensive opportunities for Luka are higher quality than they were before. And we're just not taking advantage of that from a game-to-game standpoint.
Yep.
Even though he did have 39 points. He took advantage, but we as a team did not.
Correct. A lot of those little things are just energy and effort. And that's why Josh Green is so important to have on the floor at all times. That's why Maxi Kleber, another energy and effort guy, is very important to have on the floor as much as you can have him on the floor. And you'd hope that would be a little bit more infectious, especially to a guy like Luka. Like if Luka would just run back just a couple more times a game, like some of these scores are going to be different. Some of these outcomes are going to be different. It's just unfortunate that it's kind of all a perfect storm of losing, honestly. Even after putting up 140 on the Spurs, but that's the Spurs. I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Believe in Mavs podcast. We are running a little long. Please like, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to tune in to the next episode where we break down the 76ers game. And until then, peace.